So, reflective of this table, is this a business that is not conducive for women to sort of start up?
This gentleman's wife is actively taking care of the business. So is mine.
I know it's hard to hire in this business and attrition is high. So how do you guys solve for this?
But what we have done in our businesses, we realized early on that of course that was a challenge, people leaving after getting their salaries.
हमारी इंडस्ट्री में क्या है यार, अगर कोई हेल्पर आया है, राइट, they don't see themselves becoming a chef.
Welcome to Startup Table with AJ. AJ being me, Archana Jahagirdar, and we're sitting in the Rukam Capital office, which I founded a few years ago. I have a lovely table of 7 founders who are in the food, F&B and QSR space. And let's get a little deeper into what does it mean to run a QSR startup or a F&B startup in India. So thank you everyone for joining me today on this table. I'd request each one of you to quickly introduce yourself. We'll start with you. We'll go in that direction. Pithy, short introduction. Who are you? What is your business? And then we'll dive right into with more questions.
Hi, I am Vaibhav and I am the CEO and co-founder of Cloud99 Foods. At Cloud99 Foods, we have 2 brands. First is Mr. Singh's Pizzeria, where we do fusion Napolitana pizzas, and the other brand we have is Delhi Bomb, which is a multi-cuisine diner. So that's about me.
Okay, great. And what were you doing before this?
So I was working at Revolut as a strategy and operations manager in the fintech space. So a complete shift for me.
Okay then. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Aditya. I have an ice cream brand called Cold Love. We have a mix of cloud kitchens and our own front-end parlors. Mainly operational in Delhi at the moment. We have a few parlors outside the city as well.
I'm Naveen. I'm the co-founder of Lexi's Gourmet Sandwich. And as the brand name suggests, we are into gourmet sandwiches. And I was working with Zomato for 6 years before I started this company.
So from delivery, you decided that khana khud hi bana lete hain. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, hi, I'm Yash. I'm founder of brand Lasiba. Basically, the brand is about reviving the traditional recipes. The flagship products are lassis, thandais, and with a modern twist, we've got other products in the menu as well.
Hi, I'm Gaurav. I'm the co-founder of MOPP Foods. We are into cloud kitchen operations. So we have 4 brands. Our flagship brand is Mad Over Parathas and Pakodas. Some of you might have seen us on Shark Tank Season 2. So we have a few more brands. One is called Mealy, which is a meals only brand. There's a biryani brand called Yum Biryani Bowls. So that's about me.
Hi, I'm Sandeep. So I'm the founder of a restaurant called Casa Dona, which in Spanish basically means castle of a respected lady. So it's basically we are a Mexican food QSR. So we opened our first outlet in Hudson Lane, then our second outlet in DLF Cyber Park. Now we are planning our third. So it's all fusion, basically Mexican recipes, and people are loving us.
Hi, this is Karthik. So I run a brand called Greenit. It's a vegan brand. So for the love of animals, I think I jumped out of the corporate world and started this. So we are currently operating out of Delhi NCR, and we are currently operating as a cloud kitchen business.
All right, thank you. A lot of diverse ideas on the table. So I just want to start by saying, how easy is it to get funding for a QSR or an F&B business? Are investors lining up or they're not interested?
So like I've been into the space for the past 2.5 years. And like we have 5 outlets, like 5 QSRs and 1 restaurant. It's not so easy for a food business to raise funds because typically it's considered as a traditional business. But like in the changing age, we also use data. We also do a lot of analytics. We are also like probably a high-tech food business. We are not a traditional business anymore. But the overarching thing is that it's not a very easy journey for a food brand to raise money.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think a similar experience. We've had conversations with a few people. We do get people calling us up for conversations. I think some of that is just data gathering and getting some market intelligence. but we haven't had a whole lot of success in raising funds.
We are bootstrapped so far, and
By choice or?
by choice, and our exposure to VC is little limited. But with my experience, I think this business is not meant to be investable by institutional investors, maybe because of the scale they are expecting. Because in our initial conversations, what feedback we got is even if everything goes well and you achieve what you want to achieve, that's not sitting well with our calculation of how we'll see our returns. But at the same time, there are a lot of angels and especially friends and family who've seen us and have conviction in what we are doing. They've always said that, hey, whenever you're raising around, just let us know. So that gives a lot of confidence. But at the same time, in the recent time, there are a lot of brands, especially digital first brands, have challenged that and changed the narrative, and they have proved that it is VC backable in the recent times too.
Yeah, there are quite a few that have got funding. It's not as if funding is zero.
True. The common notion was this, and I think, as I said, it is definitely changing in the recent times.
What has been your experience?
Well, I feel market is challenging. It's not so easy of plug and play. Although we've seen in the industry that QSR is more like you put up a central kitchen, you sorted out supply chain, logistics, and everything. But then I personally feel it is very challenging as to convince people that this can actually turn something big, because there are a lot of areas where some goof ups can happen. I mean, like until I can.
What kind of goof ups?
Like for example, if I find fly on this plate right now, I mean, like I can have a negative feedback for the entire thing, right? I mean, like not necessarily someone who had made it wanted some other substances to be in it, but there are a lot of challenges. I mean, like somebody is entering at the outlet, not having the good experience, somebody is not greeting the customer. There are a lot of aspects where I mean, like there's a lot of challenges. It's not like a general commodity I manufacture at X and just have to deliver it. So yeah, that is challenging. But yeah, I mean, like we've seen in the past, there are a lot of brands that have done it. We're just trying and hoping that we can do that as well.
What about you? How was Shark Tank?
Oh, it was great. We fortunately raised from Amit Jain as well, so journey has been great. We've also raised from some angels in the past. So I would say where we stand right now, let's say we have an ARR of about 10 CR. I've reached out to plenty of institutions.
In how many years?
It's a 5-year journey so far. Of course, we had COVID in between, so which did put a break on our journey. But I've reached out to plenty of investors, institutional investors. The feedback that I've got is so about 80 lakh a month. If it's a tech business, it's great. But if it's food, it's not there yet. So it's a chicken and egg situation. So I need to be at an ARR of about 20-25 CR to be able to be seen by institutions. But I need money to get there. So I am seeking support from angels, but that cycle becomes much longer. So it's not that money is not there. There are plenty of examples. Wow Momo, Sagar Daryani has raised huge capital. Burger Singh. There are plenty of stories. Samosa Party, Samosa Singh. Many people have raised good money and reached a good scale. But there is going to be a chicken and egg for any early stage in this segment for sure.
What do you feel?
I completely agree with what these gentlemen have said. Food business is not as it used to be earlier on. It has completely changed. But
Change in what way?
like the way we function, like the way we want to scale, it's not anymore a mom and pop store. So the things have changed, and if you want to survive in this environment, you have to work according to the industry. But the way people who are going to finance you, they look at you, is not changed as yet. I think so. So yeah, according to me, I haven't tried any like my hands on financing yet. But yes, I would love to have some financing.
Absolutely. So I think recently the market has changed a bit. I have observed that people have been having a success story around raising funds, and good brands have raised funds as well. So I think the way the industry is now functioning has been quite changing, and people are relying more on data, more on tech to basically streamline the business. And I think that is not getting followed by the investment patterns as of yet. The way traditional restaurants used to work, I think now the way we operate the business is quite different. And I think the same was mentioned by Vaibhav also. I think I align to his views there. So I think getting funding is not impossible right now, but it's challenging.
It's challenging. So, in a challenging environment to raise capital, what made all of you, get into this business specifically? And I mean, from fintech to food, what made you do it? I mean, I can understand you from Zomato to food is a natural sort of, journey.
I think I started working in 2015. I started with a very small scale startup. So it was Shuttle. It was a like B2C logistics company. Then I switched to Ghana as a data scientist. Then I moved to Udan as a business development and data scientist. I did a lot of things. My family was into food business for the last 35, 40 years. They have been building a sweets brand in Delhi NCR. So they pulled me into this business saying that they are seeing a trend towards a healthier side of things. So I got back from Bangalore. There was a lot of action happening. So I think I thought that I always basically imagined or maybe experience the charm of this business, because my brothers were basically sitting at their outlets, and the huge crowd was basically entering into the outlet. So I saw that we'll also do the same. We'll try to hedge the business as well, and probably diversify it. And that's where basically I started out and tried building it.
Your family had a background. So
Yes, absolutely.
So it was easier for you.
Yeah, we thought it will be easier for us.
But it hasn't been easy.
It haven't been. I particularly made the same mistakes they did, probably 30 years back.
What mistakes have you made?
I'll give you a very, very small example. So, since I have been a very happy employee in the past, like all the companies where I've worked with, I was super happy employee, tremendous growth, everything. I was paid salaries on time. So,
On time being the operative
absolutely.
word.
So मैं आया इंडस्ट्री में, मैंने देखा यार मुझे तो बहुत खुश रखा गया है, मैं भी खुश रखूंगा अपने लोगों को. मैंने स्टार्ट किया सैलरीज देना 30 तारीख को लोगों को, एंड ऑफ द मंथ. फर्स्ट माय होल शिफ्ट vanished. So I was like, यार ये कैसे होता है? Then my brother president, he taught me कि यार ये ऐसा ही होता है, and मतलब you have to make the same mistakes to learn probably.
So yeah, I was working with Revolut when my school friend, he reached out to me. He did his culinary from Europe. So his name is Singh. Behind his name, like after his name, we have named this brand Mr. Singh Pizzeria. So he basically took his bullet, put an oven on his back. He traveled back from Italy to India.
On a bullet?
No, I'm just. So basically, he brought those recipes from there. Like he's a proper bakery chef. He knows the art of the dough. He asked me if I want to do, something with him. I said, let's set up a cloud kitchen. We started a cloud kitchen. We became a local name, right? We became a local brand. We were doing
Where? In which part?
in North Delhi. So we were doing Napolitana pizzas, but with butter chicken on it. So
I think you're going to give collective cardiac to both the Punjabis and the Italians.
So, like, we became a local brand. Everybody started loving us. We became like a chit chat topic in like small events. Yeah, have you tried this? Have you tried that? So it gave me an instant kick, right? I felt like, we can do something what the likes of Burger Singh did, right? We have this massive opportunity ahead of us, and we were doing good numbers initially.
I just want to tell everyone that's my portfolio company, so you don't have to keep saying Burger Singh. Otherwise, people think it's a paid promotion. So, anyway, that's why I was glad, because you also talked about Burger Singh. So that's why somebody will think this is a paid promotion or something.
No. So like that's when I jumped into like full time with it. We were successful in raising a seed capital also, and since from like a couple of HNI investors who believed in our product, and it's been like 2.5 years. I'm full time passionate about pizzas and giving good food to people. So that's how I jumped from like a fintech background to a proper operations, food industry.
But how much tech is really there?
So actually, there's a lot of tech, with respect to the likes of Swiggy and Zomato coming in, right?
They don't give you any data.
No, but like you have a lot of data to play with still. Like they don't give you customer data, but they will give you
Category, yeah.
So you have to get really deep into what your customers actually want from you, and that you can get directly from Zomato and Swiggy. So for example, whenever we want to open a store, right, there's an open service which is offered by Swiggy, which basically tells you about what's an undersupplied area in an undersupplied category. So for example, Faridabad is an undersupplied, I'm just quoting an example, right, is an undersupplied area for pizza category, right? So what they do is they look at the number of searches from a geolocation, right? And then they suggest you that you should open your next store there. So you have to be very data savvy in today's.
No, but that's their data. My question is, do you have your own original data which you're using? Okay.
So we use Paid Puja, right? We use third-party softwares to collect our data, to create our data, to create feedbacks. We also look at the kind of the customers which sit on a particular table. So which table is the hottest running? We do pilots on those. So we have like limited data. We don't have big data sets, but our decisions are certainly driven on data. Our recipes, our products, which products to keep on the shelf, like on Zomato and Swiggy, which are the fastest moving, which is the best product, which is the highest selling. So that's all, all data dependencies.
But investors don't know that you're using data to come to conclusions and decisions.
Yep.
So to find the right location, how do you guys go about finding the right location for your outlets?
Yeah, so we get a lot of information, as Vaibhav mentioned, right, from Zomato, Swiggy itself, in terms of heat maps, that where is the demand. Plus, you could simply use your own judgment in terms of where are other cloud kitchens located. There are hacks like you go to see what their Zomato reviews are in terms of numbers, and typically you would also judge that whether the vicinity is about office complexes or residential complexes. So there are hot zones when it comes to delivery particularly. So right now we are talking about delivery. So yes, that is the hack. When it comes to dine-in, I think again it's all about footfalls. People who are operating a QSR or a dine-in outlet, it's all about footfalls and scarcity of available options, supply, let's say. So there is a methodical approach in terms of deciding the location. It's not that I want to open an outlet in GK because I love that place. That's not how it works. So every decision has to be data backed. It's not that what you like will work. So yeah, as you mentioned about the tech, what I feel is somewhere you are right, somewhere he is right. It's not that it's a typical tech business for sure. There are elements of it because of the way we operate. My friend just mentioned that the operation of a food business has changed. How we make food in the kitchen has changed. A lot of automation has come in picture because that brings in consistency in the food. The dependency on the chef's hand has reduced. So all of those elements are there. But yes, until we start delivering ourselves and build our own app, not just off-the-shelf app, when you try to do something different, that's where the tech element would come in. Otherwise, it's primarily a food and beverage business with elements of tech and data backing to scale. That's how I look at it.
Got it. Anybody else has a comment on this?
So I have opened like a restaurant myself, right? So I think typically what we look at is scarcity, right? We look at the market. So for example, I opened in Ashok Vihar. I know it's a family-oriented place. So we have to open something which caters to families, right? We cater to like a Banya community. So we are like 80% of our menu is veg, right? So that's basically you have to like have an impulse about the market, right? But when you scale, impulse, like you know where you are sitting, right? But when you are planning to scale, right? So you have to have good connections with respect to high streets, malls, and all the like retail places. So for example, I get into a Pacific Mall, right? The next time they are setting up a new Pacific Mall, they'll reach out to me because I've been with them. They know my numbers, what I'm doing, what I'm not. So that's how basically, your journey starts. Like you become a brand, you move into a good retail space, and then you scale with that retail space. So that's basically what I feel is the path for a restaurant, a brick and mortar.
Yeah, but whatever, like we've done work on this, is that the McDonald's way of doing things is the right way to do things. That you really, really work on micro markets, and not so much as to malls as a location, because it doesn't give you the same throughput as high street gives you. So how do you guys think about high street? I mean, in India we don't have high quality high street options. So is real estate the big stumbling block, or attrition is the big stumbling block for building these businesses?
I think obviously mix of both, but finding a good real estate space is something which basically works as a magic, works as a charm. If you have a great real estate in place, definitely I think the brand is gonna.
But how easy or tough is it to find it?
It is tough because you need to figure out the product market fit also. Like if in GKI basically, as he already mentioned, that if you open some sort of economical North Indian brand, probably not going to work out. You have higher rentals to pay, you have higher electricity bills to pay, and you have a lesser crowd churning out for that particular cuisine. At the same time, let's suppose if I go and open a gourmet continental cuisine there, that might just work out. So it.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely right. So, for example, a not very popular brand, or a, let's say, low AOV, which is average order value brand, in GK market may not work. But right next Zirakpur, if you open a cloud kitchen with the same product, it may work.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's very important that what product, what location, and what is the distribution model. So distribution model is also very important, because some areas which may be great for deliveries but they are not good for a walk-in or a dining. So it's a mix. A thought process has to go behind choosing locations.
Particularly for dine-in, I think there's a lot of gut feel involved. I mean, like, you're using local knowledge in Ashok Vihar. It's, as you say, one cuisine might work fantastically in the same location, another one will not. Data, McDonald's is, in another position. They've got a standardized food. Maybe they have access to data. But for people like us, gut feel is very big.
But how many times does it work out, and how many times does it not work out?
No, I mean, I don't have enough scale to, give a number on that. But again, to your...
Of your own business, 10%, 15%, what has worked, what has not?
Yeah, no, what I found, I mean, you were asking earlier about mistakes. I also had absolutely no experience in this business before I started. And I think what I'm learning is we started opening very large, not very large, but relatively large size stores. I'm now moving away from that, moving to smaller stores, because you need much quicker throughput for an ice cream brand. It's a 150 rupees scoop. So, data for people like us is all very well, works better for cloud kitchens, but I think for retail, it's a lot of.
No, but then your mistakes become very expensive, right? Because then to get out of a location is very expensive.
Especially for a dine-in or a QSR where you're facing, it's very expensive.
Storefront, I mean, to get out of that storefront.
Like for us, it's very easy. I mean, if I'm operating a cloud kitchen, it's technically the equipment which is the cost.
Yeah.
If the location doesn't work for me, I'd pick up my equipment, move to the location which is next. So yeah, but for a dine-in or a QSR, it's high street, it's expensive.
Yeah, your mistakes become very expensive.
I guess that basically resonates to why, not become a very blue-eyed boy for VCs to invest in, because the probability of going wrong is quite high.
Let me tell you about that. Every founder makes expensive mistakes.
Because I think real estate is the hardest challenge to crack, not for the cloud kitchen perspective, because...
But dine-in, of course.
Yes, I mean, like when you are expecting people to come to your outlet, and, there are 1,000 things that should go right to have, constant sale to make that outlet.
There is mistakes that we make. There are learnings, failures. Yes, some mistakes are very expensive. See, one of the things which I have learned, and it is debatable, that for example in our business we are just 4 cloud kitchens as of now, doing a reasonable business of about 20 lakhs per kitchen. But since day one, I have always had that thought process: if you want to be the Domino's or McDonald's of tomorrow, you have to start behaving like that today. And in that process, in that thought process, I have set up systems which are expensive. Now there has to be a stage for everything. I set up few systems very early in the business, thinking that we will become Domino's and McDonald's, which cost us some money, right? Had we saved that money at that stage, it would have helped later on to scale further. But then, so what I realized is there is a stage for everything. It's not that from day one you start having a expensive office and saying I will be the Domino's or McDonald's because I'm behaving like that. The stage, every stage has to be judged right way, where you want to introduce a particular cost. So yeah, so that's something which I have learned in my journey of last 5 years, that while you want to be McDonald's and Domino's of the world, just make sure that you bring in cost heads at the right stage. So there's a lot of sanitization that I did post that. So things have turned around very well for us. And I'll give an example. So a year back, we were burning about 8 lakh rupees a month. Today,
On a revenue of?
about 80 lakh rupees. At that time, it was 65, 70. Today, our revenue is about 80 lakh rupees and we're burning about 1.5 lakh rupees.
So what did you cut?
So what we did was, as I said, systems and processes. So I brought in a big corporate team, thinking we will show this picture to the investors. But then we were hit by this chicken and egg situation where investors wanted a larger revenue top line, but we were not there, but the costs were already there to support that scale. So I brought in a system which was required for maybe 10 to 12 kitchens operations, but it was too early. So we had to change that around. Plus, we also realized that the contracts that we had with some of our suppliers, there was huge room for negotiation.
Always.
So that also changed things around. Like for food costs used to be about 32-33%.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah, but now we have been able to bring it down to 26%.
Wow. That's a good cogs to have. Well done.
Yeah, so these are the elements. So we have been working on multiple areas because option nahi hai. You have to survive, because for me, where I stand in my life stage, I have no option but to succeed. Failure is not a choice. And now how I get there is this puzzle that I have to solve. That's how I look at it. I don't look at failure as a choice. If I look at failure or fallback option, I will somewhere think, yaar, okay, chhod dete hain.
Fair point. So, so we talked about real estate. So the other question I wanted to ask all of you is that, many of you mentioned you had multiple brands. So I'll just tell you investor secret. We don't like multiple brands, early stage. Much later, it makes sense. So what is your rationale for having multiple brands? Why have multiple? Also, channel strategies. So dine-in bhi kar rahe hain, cloud kitchen bhi hai. Again, investors don't like that. So what's the logic for this?
So I think market is pretty huge today. And in fact, it has been since forever. So there is room for every cuisine right now. And since you already have a facility which is basically catering towards a singular cuisine, singular brand, there's always a space. So I'll give you an example of cloud kitchen. It's very easy to open multiple brands from a single facility. Obviously, there are multiple challenges associated with running multiple brands, because you have to basically focus on each and every brand and try to basically gain consumer confidence over it. But operationally, it's not much of a challenge.
Yeah, but you got the brand side of it. Building brand is expensive.
Right. Absolutely, yes.
So why do multiple sort of brands?
I think if you want to be big, I think if you want to be big, if you want to have a wider reach, multiple brands is the way to go forward with.
Any other thoughts?
I'll take that as well. See, in our journey, how it started was we were always passionate about food. From background, I did my mechanical from IIT Bombay in 2002, went to Dubai, was into oil and gas industry for 16 years of my life. 2006.
इसलिए पराठे पे oil है.
I was dealing into crude oil. Now I'm dealing into.
That's your journey.
So the thing was, we came back, and the food was something which brought us back. We were into bar and lounges earlier. The life was, of course, very flashy, but it required late night hours and all that. My wife Gitika, she was particularly looking for something in food, but something which is not there. And that's when we did a lot of research and found out कि बर्गर का ब्रांड है, पिज़्ज़ा का ब्रांड है, बिरयानी का है, मोमो का है, बस पराठास जो एवरीबडी ईट्स कोई नहीं है, पकौड़ास पे भी नहीं है, समोसास के ब्रांड थे उस वक्त भी. So this is what we thought, that there is a gap. So there is definitely some opportunity and some market, and let's try to capitalize it. And we saw this Wow Momo model, how Sagar lifted momos from the streets, and he created a 2,500 crore empire. So that was the inspiration. We wanted to be a QSR. May 2019, we opened the first kitchen, got great response because again, there was nobody else who was doing this. And 6 months down the journey, our advisors, Rahul Singh was the founder of Beer Cafe. He was our advisor. He said that there is potential, let's scale this, and he helped us raise the first angel round. And that's when, until that time, it was Gitika who was leading, my wife. But when you raise external capital, there is responsibility that comes along with it. And this is where I quit my bar business and decided to jump into this full time. And as soon as I did that, we were hit by COVID. So when COVID hit, obviously we were trying to be a QSR. So it was a face in a high street and high rent and no revenue, nobody walking in, only deliveries were taking place. So that's when we had to go back to the drawing board and see what are the options. Even though we had raised money, angel round, but we added 2 more kitchens. We had 3 kitchens who were doing no offline business. Everything was happening online. So that's when we saw कि कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा, and we saw कि let's do one thing, let's experiment with another brand from there and move our locations to cloud. We moved all our locations to cloud kitchen locations, cheaper rents, lower operation cost, and add a brand. Fortunately for us, the second brand did wonders.
What is the second brand?
It's a brand called Mealy.
Mealy.
Yeah, it's a meals only brand, something very similar to like
a thali.
Like a thali. So thali, rajma chawal, kadi chawal, homely food. And it did wonders for us. I mean, even today, it's our strongest brand. The first brand, flagship brand, is way behind it. So when this 2-brand strategy worked for us, we got excited. We launched a third brand as well. That didn't work for us. Then we thought, okay, maybe it was just that it didn't work. Let's do one more. We did a 4th brand, which worked for us. So,
which is the 4th brand?
It's a biryani brand called Yum Biryani Bowls. The idea is that आपके पास market में सारे के सारे बिरयानी के brands हैं जो आपको हंडी में they give you a experiential delivery. But we thought there is a space for a very pocket-friendly biryani brand as well. So our biryani comes in a small bowl, small portion, single serves. There are sizes of the bowls, but that's why the name is Yum Biryani Bowls. And that's doing decently, early brand, but it's doing decent business for us. So how I look at it is the multi-brand strategy. The 2 brands, of course, this journey was not that we had planned it. It was kind of forced upon us because of the, whatever was happening because of COVID. But it worked for us. And what we think is that agar main in brands ko kam kar dunga, my revenue will go down. Now, as a cloud kitchen operator, what I see is every brand is giving a bottom line positive contribution. As long as the brand gives you, after spending on marketing, as long as it gives you a positive bottom line contribution, I'm happy to do that. And one thing which we have done is that if you would notice that all our brands are Indian brands. We have not tried to do burgers or pizzas. Why? Because I don't want to mess operations in the kitchen. So it's the same equipment, same team, Indian cuisine. What can we do with the existing menu? So it's technically the menu engineering by which we have created multiple brands rather than going into new categories, new equipment, new team training. It's the same team. It's just menu engineering.
Yeah, but like I said, building brand is expensive. So, I mean, while the back end supports it, the front end doesn't support it from a long-term perspective.
So this is what it is. Now I'm in a chicken egg situation.
Yes, you are.
So if I am able to raise, if somebody is able to back me, then I would probably be able to over a time decide what brands I'm going to carry forward and which brands I'm going to shut down, because in the whole journey I know.
Can I just give you some free advice, which is what VCs do. They love giving advice. Just stick to the brand that's growing and giving you bottom line. That is a no-brainer. So if your paratha brand is not, seeing the kind of, uptick that you thought it will have, I mean, be ruthless. Just shut it. Doesn't matter, your top line will come down by a little bit, but then you'll see exponential growth. So in fact, like one of the questions I had for this cohort was on how do you think about shutting down outlets? Because I mean, we are very big on this, that if it's not going to work, you cut your losses, because otherwise it's too expensive, because real estate is so expensive, right? So you've got to cut your losses.
True, I agree with you. So
Without an investor coming in.
yes, so we had shut down a kitchen very recently.
Not kitchen, but I'm saying in your
A brand.
In your case, because see, if there is real potential in any one brand, it's like you can't grow a full garden at the same time. I mean, to use a bad analogy, you need to focus on something completely. And that's what investors are looking for, to be quite honest. And I know it's hard and it looks as if, back end to sorted hai, to like what's the problem? But back end se nahi hota na. You need the front end also. You need the brand part of it. Because abhi you're dependent on the platforms. So the minute they pull away, what's the pull?
I think the thesis of quote unquote everybody loves the milking cows could be a theme that
At least investors like it. अगर आपको investors नहीं चाहिए तो ठीक है. अगर investors नहीं चाहिए तो ठीक है. फिर आप कैसे भी build करिए. मैं बस investor का point of view दे रही हूँ.
Totally agreed, because see, at the end of the day, all founders are also investors, right? I mean, like beyond capital, they've invested everything that they had in their life. So कुछ इसमें शर्माने वाली बात नहीं. We are all there for working for money at the end of the day, ठीक है? Irrespective of how much love we care for the brand, अगर वो मेरे को feed नहीं कर पाया या मेरा काम नहीं चला पाया, it's of actually no use to us. ऐसा. To the question that you earlier raised about, why people in the founding space, although I have only one brand, but then categories mein we are also experimenting. Everybody does. At an early stage, they're all trying to figure it out. कुछ चल जाए जिससे पैसा बन जाए, एक ऑटो मोड स्टेशन पे आ जाए, अगर even if I don't get funding for whatever reasons, I mean, like that should be sustainable enough to scale on itself. In the making, everybody gets attracted to that. So we shut down one of the outlets. I mean, like we started off in December, and gradually people got response towards the product in Ahmedabad. And we had one outlet in one of the food court areas, and apparently that was a big party plot kind of a place where 25-30 outlets were there. And it was a very hustling and bustling kind of a situation in Ahmedabad, and Ahmedabad is growing like anything. And there was suddenly there was a news that यहाँ से अभी flyover बन जाएगा, and that property itself came under that flyovers map. So I mean, like construction चालू हो गया, phase चालू हो गया, road blockage हो गया. Obviously, I mean, like the crowd footfall dropped, and वो dead meat carry करके किसी को भी फायदा नहीं है.
That's true. The kind of infrastructure that QSR and Aditya, specifically to you, because of doing ice cream, how has the cold chain part improved electricity supply? I mean, that's been one of the biggest bane of this category.
So we control everything ourselves. That's one thing that we've learned. We were talking before we actually started the cameras. We were talking about how even a guy who runs a frozen food truck will switch the freezer off to maintain his fuel, or to save his fuel.
In this country, you can't trust.
Retail stores, we used to hear about how they would shut their freezers at night and switch them on in the morning, so your ice cream is melting. That's murder for ice cream. So obviously we're relatively small scale right now, but we control the entire chain, except for obviously the Zomato last mile, Zomato, Swiggy last mile, and there also we've done a lot of research, and I can proudly say that we've got very, very few in entire time. We've got very few complaints that the ice cream has not reached in the right condition. Typically, if we delve deeper and find why that's happened, the delivery guy has taken too long to reach the residence or the address. But cold chain is definitely a challenge.
How do all of you see cold chain and overall, the back-end supply chain, how has it improved to be able to really build a national pan-India sort of, QSR?
I'll give my 2 cents. I think Hyperpure like Zomato's backend has like massively changed the whole scenario for each and every outlet to scale, like each and every brand. Like the availability of products from like fresh produce to dairy is available at a very handy price. Plus, like the delivery times are super less, right?
10 minutes? 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
30 minutes now.
You can order it
Almost
immediately, right? So
30 minutes or 1
so that product I think is a game changer for like a lot of QSRs or restaurants like us, because we don't want to hoard a lot of stuff, a lot of inventory. So it moves it keeps the like product moving and fresh. And fresh. And it's not very capital intensive also. So I think Hyperpure is a very good initiative.
Absolutely. There are a lot of innovations happening on that front. I think you save yourself on real estate. So you cut down the cost of real estate because you don't have to store the large inventory with you. Hyperpure does a lot of initiatives where you can basically tie up with Hyperpure at a certain scale. We were talking about it earlier, and you can basically use Hyperpure's facility to basically store your products there, so that you can basically keep little inventory by yourself and churn it out faster. So I think you preserve your cash flows, faster you rotate the inventory, it gives a good efficiency in the business. I think that is happening.
Yeah.
Plus cold chain with, I think, businesses like Porter and everything, they are also basically experimenting with cold transportation a lot. And I think I see a movement there.
It has improved over the years. I mean, now you have, of course, Hyperpure, then you have Coldex. Right. But the point is that these are expensive propositions, right? So for an early stage venture, it is difficult to even associate with these people, and then they end up depending on local, refrigerated vans. So yes, again, come back to the same chicken and egg situation, that beyond a scale, things become easy. People start coming to your table for an association, while otherwise you have to go out chasing them. Bhai, mere ko sign up kar lo, I am looking for you in this service. That's the challenge. But yes, the infrastructure has improved drastically over the last few years.
So I'll add one more point. I think over the past 4 years, there has been a lot of shift from like the petrol vehicles to the EV ones, right? So all those EV rickshaws or the EV porters we have, I think the costs of transporting goods have gone down tremendously, right? So we have bought our own EV vehicles, like a couple of them, to distribute across Delhi NCR. So we see that the costs have massively gone down from daily spending X, we are now spending just 0.2x. It's a upfront cost, we know, but from building a supply chain point of view and being efficient, I think it has helped us a lot.
Yeah, I have a very interesting EV story. One of our partners uses EV frozen vehicles. And in order to get more mileage, they switch off the freezers. The battery starts running out. So it's not a cost thing here, but you need for the range, extending the range, they switch off the freezer.
Wow. So, reflective of this table, is this a business that is not conducive for women to sort of start up? Why are there only men on this table?
As my friend said, his gentleman's wife is actively taking care of the business. So is mine.
Okay, that's true.
You invited the people to the table, so we can't answer that.
I mean, look, we always have women. This is the first time we've not had a woman. Yeah.
People, his wife as well as mine, they are smartly taking care of everything. And as some of us mentioned, we do make expensive mistakes. Everyone does. So we also had our own part of expensive mistakes. Now we are learning and slowly, mending our ways and slowly coming into more.
Adding to that, even I have a female co-founder. Ria, in fact, is a serial food entrepreneur. She was already running a resto bar in Pondicherry, and then we were in MBA together, and that's also one of the motivating factor for me. We are a 4-member team. So myself, Ria, Ayush, and Alex, where Alex is also a chef from the Netherlands. So the team is what motivated me. Like you asked me initially, right, it must be a natural transition from Zomato to food. In fact, I was convinced that food is not a viable business when I was working with Zomato, right? Because
I wonder why.
But when I was doing my MBA, I had to go through a lot of unlearning and learning. And then I saw the list of things you need to get right to do food business well. And team was one of the things, right? And the question was basically food market is growing exponentially, right? And especially food delivery is also growing very fast. But the 5-year mortality rate of restaurants and cloud kitchen is 98%. If all restaurants are shutting down and the food industry is growing, who's going to serve the food? So that's what convinced all of us. So if we do the basics and fundamentals right, and we have a good shot at probably building a very large company in food, and we had the team, which is one of the most important things to get right in the first stage. So again, Ria is one of the strongest asset to the team, right? Just that by chance I'm sitting here, I think it should have been.
Okay, point taken. So my final question is actually about team. I know it's hard to hire in this business and attrition is high. So how do you guys solve for this? Who wants to go first?
See, for us, we specially take care that we don't hire people from food business. Yes, we just don't, because we like my manager. Let's say I'll give you an example. My manager in North Delhi outlet in Hudson Lane, he is doing he's taking a test of what do you call this, IAS, right? He's taking that test. He's an intelligent guy, but he didn't know a thing about food. But we kept him because he basically was a foodie. That's all. We kept him. He's really honest. He works day and night to make sure the outlet is doing well. So our one motto is we never.
That's his name because we'll all try to hire him.
So that's one of the points.
See what we have done in our businesses, we realized early on that of course that was a challenge, people leaving after getting their salaries. So that's something which we have managed well. But one thing which we have learned is in the industry, especially this, everybody is after hiring skilled manpower. We have gone the other way around. We don't hire people who are skilled, we hire people who have the right attitude. So every time
How do you check for attitude?
So our interview process, 2 लोग 3 लोग मिलके interview करते हैं. There is a first round of screening by the HR guys. Then for any hiring, even at the lowest scale, our executive chef gets involved. Sometimes either me or Gitika gets involved. So we have a set of questions by which we try to gauge. Obviously, there is chances of you going wrong, but what we try to gauge is the attitude, because you can't teach attitude. You can teach skills. We are good at that.
Plus the person who's coming fresh, he's filled with ideas. Sir, ऐसा करते हैं. Sir, ऐसा करते हैं. ये चलेगा. The person who's like for 20 years he's into the same business. ये नहीं चलेगा sir. ये नहीं चलेगा sir. ये तो fail हो जाएगा sir.
Attitude is the most important.
That's what he's talking. The attitude.
I'll tell you one thing, right? What we do is basically what I feel कि इस industry में there's no path. For example, मैं अगर McKinsey में analyst लगता हूँ, right? I see कि मैं यार 10 साल के बाद पार्टनर बन सकता हूँ, ठीक है? हमारी इंडस्ट्री में क्या है यार, अगर कोई हेल्पर आया है, राइट, दे डोंट सी देमसेल्व्स बिकमिंग अ शेफ. सो व्हाट वी हैव डन स्पेसिफिकली इज कि इफ somebody has come in just as a cleaning boy, right, we slowly transition them to on the kitchen table. We tell them specifically कि यार you learn all the skills, we'll give you like we'll report to you a store manager for some time. If you are able to run the store, eventually you will be running a store. After that, we'll have a corporate team. So we give like a proper path. And this is what I feel is missing for these guys to stick to a particular organization, right? I have people who have been with me from day one. Like I have more than 15 to 20 folks who are with me from day one. And like all those 20 folks are probably leading each and every store for me. So that's basically like we have just simplified the whole scenario, show them the right picture, and that's why they stick, right? They'll not go away for like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 bucks.
There is always going to be high attrition despite that, but I completely align with this. We have also followed the same. We have a housekeeping guy who joined as a housekeeping. He's a Commie 1 chef now. Commie 1 is like our terminology. So he is a Commie 1 chef now, and there are multiple examples like that. In fact, our current existing corporate team is everybody who has been elevated from the store team to the corporate positions. So that's something which works. One thing which I tried was issuing out ESOPs, but I also realized that with due respect, the mindset doesn't understand what ESOP is. There are some set of people who understand and they value and they still hold some ESOPs in the company. But this is something which I thought would work but has not worked because of just sheer the level of understanding which everybody carries.
No, but what about senior leadership? Even that's hard to hire, right?
Yeah, I mean, like corporate chefs.
नहीं. As in MBAs आएंगे काम करने के लिए.
Abhi though, I don't think so. We have that scale also. Like probably we do not need them right now. Like let's say if we have a plan to open 50 stores in the next 6 months, we'll need those guys, right? But if I have 2-3 stores, right, we have 3-4 folks who are working full time for that, and we have that capacity to build that. So I think it all comes with scale, with the kind of problems. When scale increases, problems also increases, and then we need smart people all around.
What I think at this, if I may add, हमारे लेवल पे देयर इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम कि जब आप एम्प्लॉई ढूंढने जाओगे तो एम्प्लॉई नहीं मिलता, और एक एम्प्लॉई है जब वो जॉब ढूंढने जाता है उसको जॉब नहीं मिलती. So there are good employers as well as there are good people who are looking for jobs as well as employees. It's just to find that right mix. Where to find that people? As I told you, this guy was.
I think it's the oldest idea in the book. Everybody is looking for people all the time, and you can't get.
But smart people are joining food business. It is not like that. I have been in touch with a couple of bigger brands. I think they have a very smart set of people working for them.
Cure Foods, Rebel Foods.
Also my portfolio company, but anyway.
They hire from IITs and MBA.
Localized brand like Om Sweets, you can take out. As a matter of fact, Singlas also, they have a lot of smart people already working for it.
To fill the gap in the high level is why I went and did my MBA, so I have it. But also one interesting thing is we kind of build our business in public, right? And we talk about the passion, why we are doing it, and we put it out there. And looking at that, we've seen some surprising inbound leads. We're like, hey, you are in, like, from MBBs, they say, my long-term goal changed. I don't want to be a consultant anymore. In long term, I want to.
Nobody should be a consultant. Like literally nobody should be a consultant.
But and they go like, hey, in long time, I want to start up in food, and I don't think there is a better seat than your company to see what is going to be happening, right? And we are very welcoming of that, right? We are very secure about what we are doing, and we want those high intent people to come add value. When they come with an intent of contributing and learning, I think the work they do is also very meaningful, right? And that way they stick longer also, I hope. Although we are a very recent and new company to talk about that yet. I might be humbled very soon also. But yeah, that's my take.
No, but to build that whole structure, you need smart people. Otherwise, how do you go from 3 to 15 outlets, for example? It's not easy.
I'm 100% for that. You need small people. But I think the main challenge for us is we have to look at our P&L, right? Where to fit that person and when to fit that person is the main challenge for all of us, right?
What value to extract from them?
On board is the main challenge.
It's not like it's expensive to have like a smart person these days, right? If you want to hire from a good college or something. So you need to find out that sweet spot in your journey, that this is the time when I bring that person, and this is the time, I've scaled to 10, I want to go to like 100, right? That's the place where I want to hit.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a high gross margin business, so I think you guys can afford expensive hire.
Can I turn the table?
Yes, please, do turn the table.
Okay. So you mentioned about our dependency on, especially for cloud kitchen business, our dependency on Zomato and Swiggy particularly, and this is looked.
I took no names.
Sorry?
I took no names. I said
okay,
platforms.
aggregators. Let's say aggregators. You talked about our dependency on aggregators. This is looked upon as a bad thing for our business particularly. But I am not able to understand why a D2C brand is not facing that challenge when it comes to Amazon,
So we have never invested in a company that was only selling on Amazon. So we will never invest in a company that's only on platforms.
That's probably you, but I've seen that the industry is investing, like investors are investing money in D2C brands, despite the fact they are scaling on quick commerce and Amazon and Flipkart, not having any of their own direct channel, dependent, but they're able to raise. But food businesses, just because we are dependent on aggregators, that becomes a hurdle.
So I think, there are all kinds of investors out there. But look, I mean, this was our thesis even for, Amazon and Flipkart. You cannot build any business if the customer is owned by somebody else. That guy will chop you, right? So that's not a real business. That's not a real brand. Then you're a commodity business at best. So for any business to be meaningful, you have to own the customer, which means the data. The reason the customer comes to you directly, not to any intermediary. So I think that's a very important point. And I think a lot of money that has got sort of burned so far is because of that, because people went behind brands or companies which are building on platforms.
But if you come to think of it, because of the distribution,
The table is still turned.
yeah,
Table is still turned. Okay, bolo.
because of the distribution opportunity for a D2C brand to be not
No, it can be one of the channel. It cannot be the only channel. That's the point I'm making. See, what happens is because to bring the customer to your own sort of website, it's very expensive, right? You need credibility. So being on Amazon or on aggregators gives you credibility, right? That's what the consumer is looking for when it's a new brand, which is fine. That's fine. You can be there, but it cannot be your mainstay as a channel. That's
I have a question.
the tables are really turned. Okay, tell me.
So especially with food, if there is a brand that is being only built on aggregators, do you think it's not sustainable? Do you think it's a red flag?
I think from an investor's perspective, yes. Again, see, the question is who and what are you building for? If you hope to get investment, I mean, 100% it's a red flag because you don't own the customer, right? But if you're trying to sort of experiment a little bit and trying to do it at a cheaper sort of scale, it's perfectly fine. So it's a question of what are you trying to build? And if you want to build a really pan-India or a really large sort of brand, trust me, you can't do it on platforms. You will have to get the customer to come to you repeatedly. Otherwise, it's not a brand.
On that equation of how investors perceive this,
This is how I perceive it.
Okay, how you perceive.
I cannot speak on behalf of all investors.
Fair. From your point of view, you also mentioned that, having multiple channels like, of a QSR store as well as a cloud kitchen is also not the best move, right?
No, it's fine as long as your mainstay is dine-in. If you are getting the customer to come and experience you, the data is with you, the information, you know what the customer wants or doesn't want. It has to be your main. See, today you can't not be on the platform. Again, same thing. Credibility you get reach, access, everything you get, right? But you don't get customer information. The customer is not yours. The customer belongs to the platform. So till that happens, you can't build a large business which is completely sort of shock-proof. A business is shock-proof when you own the customer. So even if COVID happens, the customer will come back. The customer will say, "Acha, do you have something else to give me while everything is shut?" So you need that kind of customer pool. And that can only happen if you own the customer, not if the platforms own it. The platforms are valuable because they own the customer. That's why the market caps are what they are. So if you want that market cap, you have to own the customer. So, yeah.
Can I ask a question around portfolio company? Since you already mentioned that you are an investor at Cure Foods. So Cure Foods is a company which is basically mostly, I think, cloud kitchens. So, what gives you the confidence to basically invest into that?
Because Axel is the lead investor. I'm not the lead investor.
They are also like
They're now getting into, I agree. But
So here's the thing, right? What was the thought process there was that can you own the back end? Because if your supply chain is pretty much the same, right? Maida, chini, namak, if that's your core sort of raw materials, you're buying it from the same sort of vendors. I mean, so you don't have complexity of your supply chain. So you're sweating your kitchen assets like what you were saying. And you're able to own the customer, to some extent and make it a viable business. So what Ankit did, which was different, he never bought a loss-making business. So when he bought brands like Cake Zone or so these are all very healthy businesses. So then you're aggregating those under one sort of umbrella because then you get a lot of optimization. But at that scale it works.
absolutely, but still the customer is not owned.
No, he owns a customer in many ways now. So that's the other point, right? What is your medium term sort of goal as well? That's very, very important. So like I said, short term, you want to sort of experiment. Then this is great. This is great. Yeah. I mean, platforms are good ways to experiment. But long term or medium term, you need to own the customer. On that happy note, thank you everyone for turning the tables on me. But thank you everyone.